Hey Flower Tribe, it's Kelly Lehman from Cranberry Fields Flower Farm, and I'm here with Lucy, and I wanted to answer a question that a lot of people have been asking me, and that is, should I cut back my hydrangeas in winter? So I'm going to tell you some of the things that I do for my hydrangeas here at Cranberry Fields Flower Farm. So this is my endless summer little row that comes back into my backyard. And this is one of my absolute favorite rows that I have of my hydrangeas. And what I do is I usually just kind of leave them alone for the winter. I actually don't even deadhead them. I like the way that the flower heads look in wintertime, especially with some snow on top of them. But here's the story. So a lot of times people will come into their winter gardens and, they'll say, oh, well, they're not blooming anymore. I'm going to cut them back and clean them up. But here's the thing. If you have hydrangeas that come in on old wood, like your Endless Summer and your Nikos, chances are this is what you might be seeing at this time of year, especially if you've had a couple like warm days. We had a couple crazy warm days here in New Jersey. So it's like January, the beginning of January now. But just last week, it was like 55 degrees, which was really unseasonable. And what starts to happen is these are the actual flowers and, the stems where the flowers are going to start blooming from in summer, but they're being set in place now. So they actually started being set in place back in fall, and now they're really kind of like bursting through. So if you have hydrangeas like Endless Summer, like Nikos, that come in on that old wood, you're not supposed to cut back these blooms after, say, like August. So if you came in here and kind of trimmed all these back, you're going to be cutting off next year's flowers. So that's what these guys are about. Now, if you have some old wood, hydrangeas that are starting to look like this, and it's like winter. Now, today is like 23 degrees out. It's so cold. What you could do is to try to protect these guys, because sometimes what happens is once this new growth starts pushing forth, and it comes forth when temperatures are kind of warm in the winter, sometimes you'll experience winter zap, which is what happened to these guys over here. So these guys had beautiful green, little buds coming forth, and then the 23-degree weather came in and it actually froze them off. So that means that these blooms are not going to show up next year. But the good thing about Endless Summer is they come in on two sets of different growth spurts. So they'll come in the beginning of summer. All the blooms come in from that old wood, the stuff that you see coming, being put in place now. But then they'll have a second burst of blooms that come in at the end of summer, and those come from brand new stems that come from the base of the plant. So here's the thing. If you want to protect your hydrangeas that come in on that old wood, you can actually wrap it at this time of year with a little bit of burlap. You just put a couple little posts in the ground and then just wrap the plant with a little bit of burlap. And I actually made a video on that. I'll link it below to show you how to do that. But just make sure that if you do wrap your hydrangeas, you don't do it when temperatures are going to heat up again. Like I said, we had those crazy warm temperatures that were 50, 55 degrees, a couple weeks ago, and people that had wrapped their hydrangeas prematurely might have actually baked off all of these blooms because the temperatures warmed up and then everything just got too hot. So be careful with that. But now I think temperatures are really going to stay cold. So if you want to wrap them and temperatures are going to stay cold by you probably could. So I actually don't prune back most of my hydrangeas most of the time at all. I kind of just leave everything in place. Sometimes I'll give them a good deadheading towards the end of winter, late spring. But for the most part, I'm not a huge fan of pruning unless I absolutely have to, unless I have to give it a recharge. And so I kind of let them be. And then hydrangeas like your Limelight hydrangeas and your Annabelle hydrangeas, your Incredible hydrangeas, those all come in on what's known as new growth. So they're going to start, putting their stems, they're going to start coming from the ground closer to the beginning of spring. So you don't have to worry about, whether or not, you cut them back at this time of year. I usually don't cut them back at all either. I usually leave those in place. But if you are going to prune back those types of varieties, a lot of times gardeners recommend that you do that late winter or early spring, because if you do it too soon, sometimes people want to do that in fall, sometimes you actually coax the plant into setting off a brand new growth cycle at the end of the season when it should be going dormant. So I hope that answers your questions. And please join us over on my Kelly Lehman's Flower Tribe Facebook group, because there are loads and loads of gardeners from all around the world, and they're asking and answering amazing questions there each week. And I have some brand new online flower courses that I have available. I will link them in descriptions below. And please say hi to us over on my Cranberry Fields Instagram page, and I will see you guys in the next video.